Hi everyone, let's continue our psychology lesson. Moving on, we are going to talk about attention. That is a very important aspect of life. Let me share my screen so that I can share my notes with you. Attention. What is attention? It is the process of concentrating on some features of the environment to the possible exclusion of others. Focused attention. The cocktail party phenomenon. The cocktail party effect is manifest as the often dramatic result of focusing one's attention as shown in a busy party situation. The laughter, the noise in the party. One of those engaged in one of the private conversations mentions your name, not loudly, but at a normal conversational level. Your attention is immediately drawn to their discussion, switching your attention quickly to this new source. The ability to attend to one conversation among many, but also the almost immediate attention switch facilitated by the mentioning of a salient word, such as your name. Filter models. Donald Broadbent developed a technique called dichotic listening, whereby participants are presented with two different sources of information simultaneously. One source is presented to each ear. Early filter model by Broadbent. We maintain our attention by engaging a filter. This filter is an early filter. The decision about what to allow through is made at a very early stage. For example, in the party situation, we may want to listen in on our boss talking about a salary increase. We choose to allow her voice through our attention filter. The key to the filter is her vocal characteristic. Subliminal material. Words or stimuli presented consciously on a screen can be followed with mild shocks. Subsequent presentation of the word without the shock generates a mild stress response, such as sweating of the palms. This sweat raises the conductivity of the palm and so can be measured electronically as galvanic skin response, GSR. When the stimulus is presented subliminally, measurements of GSR show that stimulus has been perceived, but not consciously. Late selection models by Deutsch and Deutsch. The position of the filter is later in the attention process. The filter or the decision to select the information for attention is made not at the very start of the process, but just before the person responds. The disadvantages are that all material is processed until the very last point, where only a tiny fraction of it is used. Waste of a huge proportion of the material processed, wasteful and uneconomical. Attenuation model by Treisman. To attenuate something is to reduce its effect or power. Rather than blocking unattended material entirely, it is attenuated with a filter or an attention gate. This model allows for all information to be processed, but only the unattenuated material makes it through the conscious attention. For example, In the noisy environment in the pub, the material that we want to ignore is attenuated so that we can focus on the material we want to attend. Each of the competing streams of information being processed can be attenuated differently, allowing for different levels of attention as desired. This explains how some stimuli can grab our attention and how we can quickly switch our attention in different circumstances by altering the attenuation levels in each stream. I actually find some examples for these attention models. Do any of you know Espresso House? Espresso House is a cafe. It's like a cafe chain where you can have an afternoon tea or morning tea or even a meal and coffee or tea. How it works is that when we go to Espresso House, we usually order what we want to eat or drink at the cashier. You can actually also order it online, but I usually order it just at the cashier. After ordering what I want to drink, let's say I want to take cafe latte. After I order cafe latte, I usually have to go back to my seat. I will find a seat somewhere in the cafe. Then I will wait there while talking to some friends. Then the cashier or the person who works there will call my name. What happens is that after I order my coffee, I usually have to sit somewhere there. I will talk to my friends. And at the same time, when talking to my friends and listening to my friends, I also have to pay attention to the staff working in Espresso House. Basically, the staff there will call out everyone's names. For example, coffee without milk, or pumpkin latte, or chocolate, dark chocolate. I will basically have to listen to whatever that person says so that I will not miss my order, my cafe latte. I will have to listen everything of what the person says. For example, coffee, pumpkin latte, until that person says cafe latte with oat milk. Oh, that's my order. Then I will go to the counter to get my cafe latte. There is an example of late selection model by Deutsch and Deutsch. This means that I have to listen into everything or every word, every coffee that the staff in Espresso House mentions so that I will not miss my order, so that I can go there to get my order, so that I know, oh, that's my order. I will get my cafe latte. That is the late selection model. I have to listen to everything, and then at the end, I have to make decision to get my cafe latte and to go to the counter. And then, after I get my cafe latte, I will usually go back to my seat, of course. I will continue talking to my friends. Usually, the sitting in Espresso House is a little bit tight. There is not a lot of distance between one table to the others. When I talk, I have to talk quite loudly, and the same thing with my friends. Sometimes they have to talk loudly as well, because sometimes people sitting next to us also talk quite loudly. This is an example of attenuation model, because even though I still get to listen to what the people next to me saying, I still have to be able to listen or to focus on what my friends are saying in front of me. I basically attenuate the voice from the people sitting next to me so that I can focus on my friends. That's an example of attenuation model. Yay! I found an example. Let's continue. Attention capacity and the attention bottleneck. Attention is finite or limited. The bottleneck analogy provides a capacity control system. When we want more information to come out of the bottle, we adjust the size of the neck accordingly. Selective attention and visual search. Treisman provides a way of thinking about visual selective attention, maintaining a focus of attention on a specific item, even when faced with alternatives and distractions. Exhaustive search, where those faces other than the one you want act as distractors. Ulrich Neisser, conjunction searches are where the target shares the features of the distractors and are relatively difficult, but where the features are different, the target pops out of the background. This feature analysis explains how our attention is quickly focused when we hear our name in a cocktail party, or when we see the face of a loved one among others on a busy street. Selective attention and the spotlight model. Treisman developed the idea of a visual search to include explanations on how fields of visual distractors and targets are processed. This was called feature integration theory and is a two-stage process. Automaticity, practice makes perfect. The more we do a task, the less conscious attention we need to apply to it. Divided attention, the ability to respond seemingly simultaneously to multiple tasks or demands. Rehearsal, practice, and difficulty. The more we rehearse, the better we get. Absolutely. Similarity. Another thing that influences performance on dual tasks is the similarity of the task involved. It's related to the idea of modality in perception and attention. Tasks requiring auditory attention arrive at the auditory modality and are dealt with accordingly. Endogenous and exogenous control. Exogenous control. Attention is drawn by an external stimulus, perhaps because we are required to act in some way. The cocktail party describes how an auditory stimulus, such as our name, can draw our attention quickly to a particular position. Endogenous control. The internal equivalent. We expect something to happen in a particular position, so we are primed to move our attention in that direction. Cross-modal effects in attention. Information from one modality, the lips, adds to information from another, the ears. The result is improved performance. Sometimes, when endogenous and exogenous cues draw our visual attention to one position or another, attention from another modality, like touch or hearing, may also be drawn to the same position. Auditory and visual signals may be presented together or in close temporal and spatial proximity. For example, warning signals often involve both light and sound to engage cross-modal attention.